I'm sure we've all heard about the peace that passes all understanding in the Bible, Philippians 4, 6, 7, where the Apostle Paul talks about the peace that passes all understanding. See, the peace that passes all understanding is the I am state. Zen masters talk about the state of no mind, beyond the mental chatter of the ego, when you're just in a state of no mind, no thoughts. That's when you'll feel the peace that passes all understanding. I've experienced this, and it's the most amazing thing I've ever experienced. And immediately I knew that's what the Apostle Paul was talking about. The peace that passes all understanding is when you're able to access that higher state of consciousness beyond your ego. And there's nothing like it. See, it passes all understanding because there's no mental chatter, no ego to try to figure anything out. You're just in a state of no thoughts. In that peace, you realize in that state how your suffering is because of all that mental chatter. Being in that ego state where you're just overthinking constantly. I've said in a few of my videos how I was just an overthinker most of my life. I would just overthink about everything to the extreme. And see, overthinking just keeps you in, it's a rejection of the present moment. It's when you're constantly living in the past, living in the future, and you're trying to avoid the present moment. And it's a great way to lose all your charisma. See, when you're in the present moment, in that no mind state, that's how you get in a flow state. When you see somebody like Michael Jordan, and he's just making every shot, he's just in the zone. He's in the flow state. He's in the no mind state. When you see rappers freestyling, just crazy good, they're in the flow state. So many artists and people access this. It's when you're at your best, it's when you're in a state of no mind. When you see men and women with a great amount of charisma, right? See, they're not overthinking. They're in the state of no mind. And then when you see people like, Bill Gates, right? Nerds. It's overthinking constantly in a state of anxiety, no charisma, right? So if you want to access more charisma, if you want to access that flow state, if you want to access that peace that passes all understanding, you have to marry yourself to the present moment, no future, no past. Recreate yourself as the creator in every present moment. When you get into a state of thinking, I don't know and I don't care. See, most people are in constant anxiety because they're constantly in their heads. And that gets them in a state of anxiety, constantly worrying about the future, stuck in the past. And that's why you want to marry yourself to the present moment. That's where all of your power is, all of your charisma, all your wisdom, all your love. It's in the present moment. So if you want to be in a state of peace, in the peace that passes all understanding, learn to marry yourself to the present moment. And the more you cultivate peace, the more your outer reality will reflect that. See, your state of being and your awareness of who you are in the present moment is all that matters. So just focus on cultivating calmness and inner stillness. That's why the gurus, Buddha, put meditation on such a pedestal. It's because if you learn to get out of your head and be in a calm state, your outer reality will reflect it. Because again, we live in a multidimensional and multi-frequential hall of mirrors. So that's why meditation is so important to every sage, to every guru, is because as in, as without, as in, so as without. You calm this, you have peace in here, you'll have peace in your outer reality will reflect that. That's very important. That's why you want to not worry about what's going on in the dream, what's going on outside of you. Focus on yourself. Focus on cultivating peace inside. Don't let anything on the outer reality disturb your peace. And if you want charisma, look at somebody like James Bond, for instance. Women love James Bond, right? Look at most of the people that are attractive. They are calm. No matter what is going on around James Bond, bombs could be going off, whatever the chaos, he's calm. He's always calm, no matter what. So learn, if you want to access charisma, if you want to access that magnetism, being attractive, be calm. I don't care what's going on in the outer reality. Be calm. Breathe. Bring yourself to the present moment. When you're married to the present moment and you're not in your thoughts, you'll be calm. It's when you're worried about the past, worried about the future, trying to escape the present, that's when you get in your head, start to, worry about what you think might happen in the future and all that. That's when you get in a anxiety-filled state. Relax and marry yourself to the present moment. Now let's also talk about the real meaning of being born again. See, Christian fundamentalists, just due to their ignorance, don't understand what being born again actually is. They think it's accepting Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, believing in Jesus Christ, believing He died on the cross. But that's not what being born again is. Anybody can believe in a story. Any criminal, any slave master, all the slave masters believed in Jesus Christ. They all believed Jesus Christ, died on the cross. A child can believe that. But what born again actually really is when you let your small self die and your ego, right? When you let your ego mind identity die, because that's who you think you are before you're born again. You think you're your body, you think you're your thoughts, you think your emotions and your experiences. You think you're the character. But once you start to awaken, you realize you're not the character. And you step into Christ consciousness. You realize you're the I am. You're the awareness of all those things. So you go through the process of letting your old self die, and then you step into your true self, Christ consciousness, the I am, that has no shape, no form, because you're a frequency being. And when that becomes your new identity, when you've integrated that as your new identity, you're still going to have an ego, because you need an ego to live in this 3D world. Obviously, you need a body, right? But once you embody this new state of consciousness, this identity as the creator, you're born again. And when you're born again, you're going to have a much better life, because you realize you're the creator. And all those limitations and all that fear that belongs to the ego, you step out of that. All that shame, all that guilt, all that worry, all that anxiety, it falls off, because you're born again into a higher state of consciousness. And you realize you're an infinite being. So you have a whole different life than you had when you thought you were your small self, when you thought you were the traumatized, fragmented ego that thinks it's separate from everything. See, that's what Jesus is actually talking about when he's talking about being born again. He wasn't talking about just believing in a story about when he died on the cross, or whatever crazy death cult stuff they're trying to teach. Right. But really, I don't really care what people do with their lives. I love everybody regardless. But that's what Jesus meant by being born again. All right. Peace. Much love.